recently, as the rest of the world has moved forward with crypto and blockchain and enabled it, especially here in Dubai, you're seeing a lot of political pressure in the US, a lot of economic and political pressure to make things better for crypto and blockchain, because I'm using that word in quotes, don't want to be left behind. The challenge in the US is that, as we just touched on, you got the federal layer, you got the state layer, you got these different branches of government, you have a lot of inertia in the system.
And you need to agree with everyone.
You have to get a majority everywhere, and even getting that majority takes time, and there's trade-offs and everything else, and there's narrow interests that protect themselves. So when Trump came to office, there was a lot of positive feeling that things would change quickly. And I remember, of course, when Trump first got elected, it's like, he's going to do this, he's going to do this, do this. It ended up...
He launched his own token.
He did, legally or not. But, that was a good sign. And his wife did too, I think. We can talk about whether meme coins are
it's crazy.
Really embracing the spirit of crypto and blockchain. So, right, he started off with all this. And of course, Elon Musk's Doge department.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to talk about Elon, also the name of the coin.
It's super actual, according to the news of the last 2 days.
When my parents almost got divorced, they did not fight as hard as Trump and Elon. I feel like it's best brothers who your friends and your family hurt you more than enemies or people you don't know. I feel like it's one of those vibes.
Did you see the news that they started to roll it back a few hours ago? So Musk deleted one of his tweets. About this
Epstein, not Einstein. Everyone does that. I am not related to Epstein. I'm not part of the Mossad.
So he already deleted this post.
Yeah,
and the Trump answered about that he do not play to return Tesla or to return a key. So it's great.
As everyone always says, the internet is forever.
Yeah.
If it's not true that Trump is on the list, that's potentially defamation. It's actually potentially legally bad. I think he's smart to delete that, but they're both outspoken people. I mean, you got two alphas going at each other. Trump is notorious for the verbal kill shot. Like he'll destroy people with words, and when he labels someone in a negative way, it sticks, and the person's like, trying to be an adult and gets lost. But Elon, as autistic as he is, he's kind of known for doing the verbal kill shot also.
So it was crazy fight.
I know, you got two AIs battling each other. You got two ChatGPTs attacking each other. It's mildly amusing to watch, but as someone with a residual interest in the United States, and hope it recovers and does well, it's a little sad.
But from your perspective, it was a plan, or it's like uncommon situation?
I don't think it's a plan. I think that's very hopeful and it's an illusion. Everyone keeps on saying Trump plays four-dimensional chess. Really? I mean, if this is four-dimensional chess, I think you should stick with two-dimensional. It's not so great. So, I mean, but circling back, and we can move forward.
Let's go.
So in the U.S., just to give you a little bit of background, we can maybe go into it some more. There was endless battles between our securities regulator, the SEC, and all these companies issuing tokens. And the SEC and the other regulators would not issue clear guidance on whether or not a token was a security or not a security, whether it's a commodity, a payment mechanism, a security, a utility token, some blend of all the rest. And the rest of the world, Switzerland, UAE, Dubai, other places, at least came up with some clear guidance. You could apply and ask, you could get an opinion, you could get a ruling and move forward. So for the longest time, the US would not issue these points. They wouldn't license you as this or that. They still don't. And the SEC under Gary Gensler, who's a fool, the chairman was, I think, in the pocket of the securities industry in the US, and it was the worst thing in the world. They wouldn't answer about whether or not something is a security. They would let people do their stuff, and then they would punish you. So they would let you walk yourself out into the middle of the ice-covered lake and then fall through, instead of warning you, hey, watch out about the lake. So it is just, I call it regulation by enforcement or regulation by punishment. It's kabuki theater, if you get the reference. And they would supposedly issue some guidance, but there's very useless guidance. When you get guidance on a topic, you don't need the obvious extremes. Okay, I know water is wet. I don't need someone to tell me water is wet. I need to know the edge case. Is this thing that pays a dividend, is that by definition security? Is it not? SEC would issue guidance, but it's useless guidance. If you issue a token for a bottle of Coca-Cola, it's not a security. Okay, I wasn't asking you that. I was asking if I set up a smart contract and have a smart contract powered by a token, is that a security? And they wouldn't answer the hard questions. They would pretend to answer the questions. And they would do meeting after meeting after meeting. And I've been in some of those meetings, nod, take notes, go, thank you so much, waiting for your feedback, and the feedback never comes.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrible. And the FSA in England would kind of do the same thing. They'd invite people in for consultation meetings. They'd listen, they'd nod, you'd say, thank you, you have to be very nice to the regulators, thank you for your time, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for, meeting with the regulators, we appreciate it, and never get back to you. And then if they don't like you, they come and get you later. You can contrast that with Dubai, And just for your viewers who aren't here, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, is interesting. I compared it to Switzerland. You have a thin federal layer, but you have the Emirates. Individual Emirates are very strong, especially Abu Dhabi and Dubai. It's probably described better as a confederation.
Confederation.
Right.
Okay.
So the U.S. is a federation or a federal government. Okay. Russia is a federal system. Okay. More or less. It depends. Putin made the government directly.
Here is confederation because every state, every emirate has his own rules.
To a certain degree.
They're united, but in general, they have their own rules.
Yes. Especially there's a duopoly here between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. They're kind of like the twin sisters. The oil money and the political power is mostly in Abu Dhabi. But Dubai is no joke because it doesn't have oil or because it ran out of oil, because there's very little oil. But because of the nature of the leadership here, they're trade oriented and open in a way that Abu Dhabi doesn't have to be. Not that Abu Dhabi isn't, but doesn't have to be. So what's neat is you have the equivalent of a state, the Emirate of Dubai, creating its own regulator, something that would normally be on the federal layer. Okay, so in the U.S. we have the SEC. It's a federal commission, Securities and Exchange Commission. In France and Russia and these other places, you have federal layer or state, central government layer. Depends how you want to call it. But here we have VARA, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. And VARA is on the same level as the federal regulator. So Dubai is very forward thinking. Not only are they helpful, but they made their own regulator specifically for virtual assets. So in the United States, when you're trying to get something cleared or understand something, you don't know what door to knock on. Okay, do you knock on the door to the SEC, the CFTC, which is the Commodities Futures Trading Commission? Do you knock on the door to the Treasury? Do you even knock on their doors at all? Do you knock on the door of the state government? Okay, and do you need to do it for every state that you're in? Because the internet is everywhere. Do you need to do it in all 50 states, plus Guam, plus Puerto Rico? What do you do? It's crazy. So Dubai, I think, is the only, I don't even want to say country, only locality in the world that made a dedicated regulator just for virtual assets that's on peer with the federal regulator. Because we have ESCA, the Emirates Securities and Commodities Authority. So they're twin powers. And if you get something approved by VARA, the local regulator, you get kind of a pass in some ways from ESCA, the federal regulator. So, what a contrast. It's right here in the World Trade Center. You can go there with an appointment, obviously. You can meet with them and you can talk to them and they'll work with you to get your application compliant. And if they don't understand anything, they won't nod and pretend they do. They'll actually ask you to explain it and go get other people's opinions and ask. And come back to you and say, okay, thank you for explaining to us. We had to do our homework. Here's what we think works, here's what we think don't. And they'll work with you to get your application through. So, of course, they don't let everyone through. Of course, it costs money. Of course, it's complicated. They don't want to stick out their neck too far because it's, there's risks involved like FTX and everything else. But they're issuing licenses. So everyone's coming here. I came here before VARA, but the attitude that created VARA was already present. And I saw it, which is part of why I left the US and came to Dubai. So it's great. I was just on another show and I was speaking with some lawyers from Malta. And Malta, of course, is in the EU. I love Malta. I was there several times. We thought Malta was going to become a blockchain island. That's how they branded themselves. I don't know if you were there or remember this.
Maybe in 2017, 18.
Yes, 2017, not good memory. 2017, 18, maybe 19, they were trying to do that. And Gibraltar was trying to do that also. Of course, Gibraltar came out of the EU because of Brexit. So Malta's branding attempt in 2017, as you said, through say called 2019, it was called themselves Blockchain Island. But they couldn't pull it off because the regulators just weren't sophisticated enough or big enough, which is understandable. It's a small island. And also the banks couldn't handle it. So Bank of Valletta and the rest of them, even though you could hypothetically get a license there, you couldn't get a bank account. It didn't work. I was just on a podcast, here we are in 2025, with people from Malta talking about, how they were claiming to be pioneers in this space. And now that MiCA, European regulations in effect, Malta is the best because, MiCA is based on this. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not right, because in the EU also, they're regulating because they have to regulate. They're regulating because they're under pressure, but they're doing it in a begrudging manner. They're trying to cause no harm first, but in a very conservative way. And so even though VAR's regulations kind of look in some ways like European regulations, they came to it from different angles. VARA came from, let's see what we can get done, and we'll restrict it as much as necessary to protect people. Europe came from, let's not do anything. Okay, we have to. And they ended up close. So it's like a zebra and a horse. They kind of sound the same, they kind of look the same, but they're not the same animal. And you find that when you get past the words on the page and you start talking to the regulators, you can see the attitude is completely different. So I was speaking with my Malta colleagues, who I love. Again, I like Malta, and I'm like, guys, I don't want to rain on your parade, but let's be real. You're talking this way because you love Malta and you want to support the business there, but the fundamental reality of talking to the regulators is different. Here, I can go into VARA. Okay, they're right there in World Trade Center, and people do. You can do it through yourself. It takes a lot of time, or there's a lot of people who work with them. It's not some weird monopoly, and you can talk to them and figure things out. EU is famous for its bureaucracy. And do you think that got any better with crypto and blockchain? Of course not. EU is a bureaucratic nightmare. Do you go to Brussels? Do you get a local license and passport it around? What do you do? And so it's so great here. That's my long-winded answer.
I like this. It's so great here. I like this idea.
Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to watch a full episode and also check the links in the description below.